American Express Open Business Cards from American Express can help cover the big purchases you need to make when you need to make them. Find out how American Express Open cards and services can help prepare you for growth at open.com.
Hey, college football fans, I'm Ivan Maisel. On the latest Championship Drive podcast, Alabama up, Ohio State up, Texas A&M down, and Baylor down for a while.
This is Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio and ESPN2.
A Seattle Seahawks victory.
He's got a man, Jimmy Graham. Can he hang on to it? He does! Touchdown!
Obviously, Richard Sherman's offsides. He just plows into Carpenter.
I don't think that was a dirty play at all. I put that one completely on the rest.
Greeny tries you at ESPN.
Yeah, good point.
Everybody feels like they can.
The level of overstatement involved in that is so is difficult for even I to take with a straight face.
Now, here's Mike and Mike.
Here we are back in Better Than Ever, Mike and Mike on this election day. Presented by Progressive Insurance. Our guest on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, Danny Kanell, is here, and he's already in mid-segment form, despite the fact that he hasn't yet spoken a word. Got the feet on the desk. He's ready to go. What's up, Danny?
I am so glad I could come in this morning because I've been waiting for this moment since Sunday when Golick and I were kind of going at it a little bit. I've got Greg McElroy after me, Paul Feinbaum after me. All these people are after me. You're calling me a troll, which I do feel is a little bit insulting.
But you are.
No, see, I don't think so. I think that's insulting. I think what I like to do, I like to spar with people on Twitter, and I like to use it for information. I like to use it to help myself prep. And it's not. I picture a troll as somebody who makes up stuff and just puts stuff out there that they don't really
some of the
believe
stuff
in.
That you put out there seems
I
to be
put out a
made
lot
up,
of statistical information that is fact that I like to put out there to support my arguments.
You put out statistical information that serves your.
Sure, but isn't that what everybody does? Like,
well,
if you're making an argument, why would you put out a stat that doesn't help?
But if we're talking about one thing about how Florida State would do against Alabama this year, and you put out that Jimbo's 8-1 against the SEC,
sure.
So you're kind of steering where you want to go when something else was being said.
Well, I don't know.
Troll.
Well, I was upset with Ryan because Ryan Clark brought Florida State in the conversation, which I don't even know why they were in it, because I haven't said Florida State's very good this year. Like, they've struggled on defense.
I certainly don't bring my alma mater into
right, exactly. So that wasn't even in the discussion. But since he wanted to bring it in, I was like, all right, since you asked for it, I'll give you some stats that would back it up that Florida State has held their own against us.
So where all of this began, for those who weren't following it over the weekend, and I was just sitting back and enjoying it like crazy, watching the two of you go at it, was that Danny was tweeting during the, and from Russillo and Kanell, of course, Danny Kanell, for those who don't know, and all over our college football coverage all weekend long, during the Alabama-LSU game, which I think a lot of people thought was a scintillating, exciting defensive battle. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you were essentially tweeting, this is actually a case of terrible offense more than it is bad defense. Is that an accurate way to describe what you thought of that game?
You made the comparison to the Big 12. If we're going to rip the Big 12 for being 55-50, why are we not ripping this for being 10-0 with no good offense?
For the Alabama-LSU game, why can't it be both? Because I've never said anything disparaging about Bama's defense. I think they're the best defense in the country. They're number one for me. I'm getting all these Bama fans coming after me. I've had them ranked number one since the preseason, haven't moved them from there. Have not picked them to lose a game this season. I think they're incredible, but when you combine LSU and Bama's defenses and you put them on a field with those offenses, which are struggling mightily to figure out, and LSU much more so than Alabama, they're figuring things out with Jalen Hurts. When you combine those two things, that's where you have a 0-0 game after 4 quarters. And I thought, I'm into it. I'm excited as everybody else is because the magnitude of what is involved and what is there. But why can't we criticize the offense? Like, why is that above reproach? Like, it's the SEC.
I criticize because of your comparison. This is just me.
So
this is just me. I think the offense, even though they're not great of those two teams, are way better than the horrific defenses in the Big 12. So that's why the comparison for me wasn't apples to apples. And a lot of it's the eye of the beholder as well.
Sure.
There are those that love 55-50 games.
I don't love either.
Right,
I don't love the low-scoring slugfest.
I actually loved the 10-zip slugfest.
See, I don't love
Listen, I love a 2-1, 2-hit game in baseball. I love that as well. I'm on the edge of my seat who can figure it out. You know, to me, in a 55-50 game, it's like, okay, they have the ball. Let's see, how quick will it take them to score for the other team to have the ball for them to score? I'm more on edge. Maybe that's the defensive player in me in a pitching duel to say who's going to figure it out for that one or two at-bats, just like in the defensive duel, who's going to get that one or two offensive plays that's going to put that team in position to get a field goal or to make a 21-yard run for a touchdown like Hurts did. So I guess a lot of it is in the eye of the beholder on what you like.
If you love, because I love baseball too, I love a pitcher's duel when you're facing these teams.
I'll take that over 10-9 any day of the week.
What if most of the batters were hitting about $120? Like, would it be as entertaining then? Or would you feel like, man, these hitters don't have a chance? Like, that's what I feel like when we're watching that damn LSU.
That was where, and again, I didn't jump into this, but that was where I would have jumped in to disagree, because Alabama's offense hasn't been bad all season long. How many points did they score against Texas A&M? I watched that game, and Texas A&M we thought was a good team. I mean, they were ranked 4 last week, and what did Alabama score? 40-something points against them. So this wasn't a bunch of 120 hitters. This was LSU in their Super Bowl playing the defensive game of their life. That's basically what it was.
For me, it's more about quarterback play. And that's where, and Lane Kiffin has done a fantastic job of figuring things out. And see, we talked about this leading into the game of how to stop Alabama. And there is a way to stop Alabama, which LSU did for 3 quarters. It's make Jalen Hurts beat you from the pocket. And if you slow down, if you can stop him running the football, then you have a chance to beat Alabama, which LSU did. But in the 4th quarter, when the game was on the line, you saw numerous times on 3rd down situations, which are passing downs, you saw Jalen Hurts. What did he do? He hurt you with his legs. And Lane Kiffin calls those up. On the game clinching drive, the field goal drive, where they took off 9 minutes of the clock, it was a 15-play drive. 7 of those plays were Jalen Hurts runs. A couple of them big on 3rd and 11, 3rd and 15. You're thinking, oh, those are passing downs. Nope, they're running it, and he's finding ways to hurt you. So they've been creative about it. The thing with the Big 12 that drives me nuts is I'm guilty of this. We'll sit there and we'll do highlights, and we will openly mock the Big 12's defense. Like, look at this horrific defense. This is awful. We'll laugh at it. So why can't we just criticize a little bit the offense of the play that's on the field when the SEC is playing?
I guess because of, at least in my opinion, the defenses are horrific, and the offenses aren't horrific in the SEC. You brought out LSU that they're 110, but the 3 when Etling started, it was getting better. The offense was opening up more and getting better, so it wasn't as bad as it was early in the season. By no means is it a great offense, by no means. But I like the fact that he opened it up a little more. I like the fact that they were putting Leonard Fournette, splitting him out at wide receiver to try and get him in space, but Bama's defense was just too good.
LSU got things rolling the games leading up to Bama because they were playing against really bad defenses. I mean, let's be honest. Ole Miss is ranked 110th in total defense, Missouri 116th in total defense, and Southern Miss is a non-Power 5 team. Like, you look at those opponents, and that was what was playing out. Like, they were building a lot of confidence, but it was against some weaker competition. And when you talk about the Big 12s, I totally agree with you, because some guy, a lot of SEC fans have brought these stats saying how bad the Big 12 defenses are. Look how bad these are. Some of the worst passing defenses in the country. They have 8 teams that are ranked 69th or worse in passing defense. That's horrible, right? The SEC has 9 teams ranked 69th or worse in passing offense. So they're both bad. They're both bad at what they do, and they both have their identities, which I think we should be okay with. The Big 12 is a pass-happy league. The SEC is a defense-heavy league, and it's worked well for the SEC.
Comes down to the eye of the beholder.
Let's get down to other business then. Time for the championship.
Hold on, can I show you something real quick?
Yeah.
I actually have video, because on Sunday when I'm on Twitter and I'm trying to fight all these people, I have a video I want to show you, because this is what I felt like. And if this little
awesome.
baby iguana right here?
Yeah.
That's me. I'm just out there as a baby iguana running across a desert, and all these snakes, see these people? This is Golick, this is McElroy, this is Feinbaum, this is Hugh Greeny piping in from a little bit afar. These people are all trying to get after me. I'm just a baby iguana trying to get out of the way. That's all I'm trying to do.
You did get out of the way. For those listening on radio, it was an unbelievable video that's been posted everywhere about an iguana.
I'm jumping from cliff to cliff, just
running
trying to get out of the way.
Tons of snakes. It was I retweeted that last night. It was unbelievable.
That was me.
So is this you, Danny, now playing the victim? You're really playing the victim?
I'm just a baby iguana. marijuana, just trying to find a way.
You instigate this stuff. Don't play the victim.
All right, on to serious stuff. All right, what do we got?
Championship Drive brought to you by Dr. Pepper. So there are two separate big picture questions now, because I don't think anyone at this point doesn't think Alabama is the team to beat. Let's start with the more immediate one. Who do you believe should be the fourth team in the committees for tonight?
The same team I thought should have been there last week, the fourth team, because I think the three are very clear cut when you have Alabama, Clemson, and Michigan. Those are very easy. Those are very obvious. And then the fourth spot should be Washington, as I thought it should have been last week. The committee, to me, I wouldn't be surprised at anything they do now, because I'm trying to figure out what they do. Sometimes you think it's resumes, sometimes you think it's strength of schedule, sometimes you think it's eye test. And they can, use whatever one of those they want to use to justify the decisions they're coming up with. But I think they have to look at Washington, yet another win against Cal, who, you can laugh about the Pac-12, but Cal, speaking of, passing offense and defense, one of the better passing offenses in the country, and holding them to 27 points is actually really impressive. Like, it doesn't look as impressive as a shutout, but it's still really impressive. And the good news for Washington is that their remaining schedule, including that game, gets more and more impressive. So their resume is building on the way to the finish. In fact, they have some very tough games, especially this weekend against USC.
I believe that they're, from last week on, of the undefeateds, they had the toughest remaining schedule. Right. And I'm with you. I think they should have been fourth. I think they're being undersold. I love the quarterback. I love the receivers. I love the defense. But it would not shock me if Ohio State sits at number 4.
It wouldn't shock me either. No. But again, I don't know what we're doing, because we're making this too complicated. We're talking about 2 Power 5 teams. It's not Western Michigan. It's not somebody outside the Power 5s you're putting them against each other. Why is the penalty for losing not significant? If you lose a game, it should be significant. In Washington, it's not like they're playing a non-Power 5 schedule. They're still facing good teams, and I know Stanford isn't having the goodest year. I know Oregon, but they smoked both those teams. Right. And Stanford, by the way, is 6-3 now, and their only 3 losses are against top 25
Great test for them
teams.
Against SC, a team that started out bad, changed quarterbacks, won 5 in a row. So this is really, really a big test for them.
I agree with you. The one thing I'll say, and I think it's clear, there's no conceivable chance that Washington runs the table, wins the conference championship, and gets left out.
No, they'll be
literally zero chance.
But what if they lose this game to USC, who, like we're saying, is a very good team? Let's say it's
and
close.
Then they're a one-loss team. So you've taken me where I was going to take you. So if you have a one-loss Louisville, when all is said and done, a one-loss Washington, and a 2-loss Big Ten champion Wisconsin, and you have room for only one spot for those 3, who gets it?
And Washington is not a
they're a conference champ. They're
a one-loss
with one loss.
I would put Washington.
I'd put Washington in 2.
I would. And Wisconsin has having a great year. If they could figure out their quarterback situation, and because they've been hamstrung a little bit by going back and forth between Houston and Hornibrook, who have struggled at times. It's putting it kindly. They've really struggled with turnovers. Defensively, they're one of the best. They have great non-conference win over LSU. Their losses are really good losses, but still, I think you would have to give the nod to Washington as a one-loss champ. Although the committee loves the Big Ten, as we've seen in their rankings, so maybe they would view it differently.
And the other one, by definition, one loss.
Louisville. And I heard you guys talking about Bobby Petrino's comments. He has a very good point, and I love him, fighting for his team. I think they're one of the better teams. I think Lamar Jackson is so exciting to watch. I think their defense is really good.
The 8 ball here.
But I think they're going to get hosed in all of this. And that's why I don't like the current system. I wish we had 6 or 8 so that you would have that room for error.
As I said, you have 8, you have the 5 Power 5s in, you can have 1 from the non, and then you pick.
You know what, though, Golick? That would just make too much sense.
Make too much sense?
Yeah.
About it.
That would be it. But like Petrino, he makes some really good points. And when he talks about the committee looking at resumes, I have Bama number 1. But if you said, all right, let's just put the resumes on paper, Clemson's resume continually looks better. The better Auburn plays, that week 1 win on the road at Auburn looks much better now. The Louisville win looks much better as Louisville keeps going. Alabama's resume keeps getting knocked down because the teams that they beat that were really impressive at the time, Ole Miss, Tennessee, they're kind of falling apart, and they're going by the wayside. And USC, that win, even though USC is better, it'll never look better for Bama because they beat them with a different quarterback, if that makes sense.
Mike and Mike, the College Football Playoff Trophy presented by Dr. Pepper. Dr. Pepper, it is a college football tradition. An interesting comment that Trevor Maddich made when he was in here earlier. I think that the conventional wisdom has been the way you beat Alabama is with Deshaun Watson or with Lamar Jackson, a quarterback who can beat them running, they can spread them out and all that kind of stuff and expose what has traditionally been Alabama's Achilles heel defensively. Trevor went a different direction. He said he believes the team with the best chance to beat them is the one with the quarterback who can actually beat them in the air by making the reads and doing all those things. Your prototypical pocket passing quarterback, and he identified Browning and Washington as the team he thinks would have the best chance against Alabama. Do you agree or disagree?
I would disagree. I mean, I think it would take a really special pocket passer to beat Alabama. Now, look, Alabama has faced two really good quarterbacks, in my opinion. They faced Chad Kelly from Ole Miss and Austin Allen from Arkansas. Both of them, Chad Kelly threw for 421 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. They almost beat Alabama. Austin Allen threw for 400 yards, 3 touchdowns, but they also had 3 interceptions. To me, the formula to beat Alabama is like what you just said, Greeny. I think you do have to you should run up-tempo because that neutralizes their front seven to some extent. It helps, keeps them gassed, keeps them from making substitutions. So if you go up-tempo, that can help you a tremendous amount. And I guess when you say mobile quarterback, that helps, but you have to have an elite quarterback. Like, that's just the thing. Like, you have to have an elite quarterback to beat Alabama.
I think the two teams I put Clemson, because I think a lot of people are downplaying that Clemson's not having the year from last year, but I think their defense is excellent. Their offense is still good, and you have Deshaun Watson, and you saw what he did last year. Ohio State, a lot of people say Ohio State with Barrett. You look at the way that O-line got dominated against Penn State, and Penn State is playing well this year, that I think that Bama or D-line would just absolutely – now, they dominate a lot of O-lines, but I think they would at Ohio State. I like Washington as well, along with Clemson. I think Browning is an excellent pocket passer. They protected him. He doesn't get sacked a lot. Their defense rushes 4. They don't blitz a lot, and they get sacks, even though they lost their best pass rusher. And I like their offensive line as well to match up somewhat against that D-line. I think that Alabama's defense is still better than everybody else's, but I do think Browning, if he has time in that pocket, he's got some heavy hitting wide. You look at their wide receivers, their average per catch are 19, 17, 16, 18. I think they could hit some big plays.
Mike and Mike were presented by Shell Pennzoil. Choose Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gas for the best total engine protection you can get. Changing gears a little bit, Danny, I think something right up your alley. I was just glancing over some of the things that have been tweeted. Steve Cohn, who's a guy that we all know, who's a sports guy over at SiriusXM, tweeted, "You trade 6 picks to get Jared Goff, and he's still not good enough to play in Week 10. Worst decision with the number 1 pick since JaMarcus Russell." That's a tweet from Steve Cohen. So Golick and I talked about this earlier this morning. Let's take the JaMarcus Russell comparison out of the discussion. I think maybe the last person saying, I don't think this is such a disaster, is me. Because the one thing I'll say is you draft a quarterback number 1 because you believe he's going to be a great player in 3 or 4 years and will be a great player for 15 years. I'm maybe the last person saying, I'm not that worried if he's not ready Week 10 of his rookie year. A lot of people seem to disagree with me. You obviously covered him more than anybody in college. What is your perception?
I think it's way too early to be calling him a JaMarcus Russell type bust. I mean, we just haven't even seen him play.
Right,
we have not seen him on the field.
But is the fact that he is, it is obvious he's not ready to play a red flag?
No, there are some concerns when you watch it. And I think when you hear, and going back to Hard Knocks, hearing him struggle to get the play call out. But listen, he was not under center much at all in his college career. There takes time to be able to get your fundamentals down when you can, not have to think about just your feet. Like that comes second nature to a guy who's been playing in a pro-style system like a Jameis Winston. Like Jameis Winston did a lot of stuff under center, a lot of stuff in shotgun too. So when he goes to Tampa Bay, they're saying, all right, we're going to give a 7-step drop. He doesn't. All he's worrying about is progressions. What's the defense doing? Where am I hot? Where if you have a guy who's been, from shotgun most of his career, he's probably thinking in the back of his mind, all right, I got 7. How's that work? And it's kind of embarrassing, but you've seen it play out when I've watched guys work out at their pro day, where if they've been primarily shotgun type quarterbacks, they're actually counting. You can see them like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can't do that. No. You have to be able to just drop and not think about it. And if he's still thinking and frozen by just those little things, it's really going to hinder his chance for success.
And I think there has to be a question as the coaching of that team, what quarterbacks they've developed over the years. I think that has to come into play. I mean, who have they?
Well, they had Bradford. I mean, that's the big one, is they had Bradford, and it obviously
wasn't all that long ago, and he's gone and given up on Nick. Foles came from 27-2 in Philadelphia, touchdowns, interceptions, to fail with the Rams as well. I think that has to be a fair question.
I think there are some concerns for sure. But to say it's a Jamarcus Russell type bust, I
can't
think it's just
say
way
that.
too
You haven't
early.
even seen him play.
I shouldn't have even read that because now that skews
but yes,
it so much.
I think there are, and what's not helping the Rams at all is that you're seeing Carson Wentz play, you're seeing Dak Prescott play really well.
I was going to ask you about Prescott because, I mean, how different was Prescott's offense in college from the one that Goff is running?
Not that much different.
That's
I mean, he was doing a lot of stuff.
And
under
he's
shotgun.
ready to walk in there week one, and he may be the MVP of the whole league, and
but
Goff's not ready to step foot on the field.
You're as a quarterback, you are, and it doesn't matter. There was only maybe one or two guys in the history of football. Peyton Manning, I think, is one. Tom Brady is one. You are only as good as your surrounding players. And Dak Prescott has an amazing luxury of having an incredible offensive line and one of the best running backs in the game right now, in Ezekiel Elliott. So he has some great weapons around him where they can keep a simple workload on him. They can keep things simple, and they're tailoring some of the things. They're doing a little bit of zone read, a little bit of things that they can pull from his playbook that are easier. You get him outside the pocket, uses athleticism. So I think it's a combination of both those things why Dak is able to succeed this early.
Real quick, your thought of Richard Sherman last night and the kick?
Yeah, I didn't love it. I don't think it was dirty, but I think it was cheap. Like, if that makes sense. I thought it was a cheap shot. I mean, even after the game when he's talking to Lisa Salters and he says, "Hey, I'm not letting him get a kickoff." That's kind of like one of those irritant things to do. You see it happen when the basketball and NBA, when there's
But why would you let him get the kickoff, though? Let me say this. If the whistle doesn't blow, which, by the way, it didn't.
See, here's what I would have said if I was Richard Sherman, because he basically after said he knew it was a penalty and said I wasn't going to let him kick it. That's what, because I think if he would have been better off saying, I didn't know it was blown dead.
No, I don't have a problem with that. He knew he was offsides, but how many times have we seen Aaron Rodgers get a guy offside, the whistle's not blown, and he throws a touchdown?
Sure.
So if he says, I knew it was a penalty, I didn't hear a whistle, if he kicks a ball and there's no whistle and it's good, that's 3 points. He's saying I wasn't going to let that happen. What I'm asking everybody as well, how would you have tried to block that? With what he did, he got his left hand on the ball, and then the rest of his body went across the kicker. I contend if he dove for that ball when it was on the ground, he'd have snapped Chandler's plant leg. So that's what I'm asking everybody. How would you have blocked that? The whistle didn't blow. The whistle did not blow. So he's going through the play like you're taught to do at 7 years old. How should he have done that play?
I just thought it was a cheap shot. I thought you can tell.
How should he have done the play?
You can tell when you're offside.
But how should he have done the play?
I think he should have let up.
Danny.
I think you should let up.
Danny,
like if it's a quarterback,
Danny,
think about
it.
it.
The whistle.
Think about this. Think if
That's
it's
ridiculous.
You can tell when you're offside.
Danny,
you know that better than anybody.
Danny, oh my God! I can't believe you're saying that. So if you jump offside, I'm a defensive end.
Right.
I jump offside, and I know I jumped offside, and the whistle doesn't blow. The quarterback can throw the ball down the field and get a touchdown.
Right.
So I should say, well, I knew I was offside, so I stopped. You don't stop. Who taught you to play
Let me
football?
ask you this: if you
don't stop if you don't hear the whistle.
Your situation, if you come offsides,
yes,
and that quarterback is just going to take, and you take him and body slam him, what's going to happen?
Did the whistle blow? Did they let the play go on? Did the whistle blow? That's what it comes down to. Did the whistle blow? If the whistle doesn't blow, the play's not over. You could know you're offside. Why would you give the guy a free play? That makes zero sense. Aaron Rodgers just did it this weekend.
Sure, they do it all the time.
Right,
kickers do it all the time.
So you're saying a defensive player, he should just stop and let the quarterback have the free play.
So
and
the
don't hit
whistle
him.
did not blow, or he didn't hear the whistle?
No, the whistle did not blow. They didn't blow the whistle until he was in his block motion. They blew it too late.
If the whistle didn't blow, I'll give him a pass.
Oh, he had, without question.
All right, I'm jumping in. Okay. Danny, thank you very much. I'm sorry you were yelled at. I'm sorry
it's
that you
okay.
are.
I'm just like that baby iguana. I'm just like that baby iguana, just running around with all these snakes after me.
You will hear Danny this afternoon and every afternoon, Russillo and Cannell, coast to coast on ESPN Radio. All right, a very interesting... This is not a political poll. A different poll has just been released, and the results are somewhat interesting. I'll read them to you right after this word from 1-800-Flowers. Mike, football season is getting intense. It's safe to say your loved ones are feeling the effects. They haven't seen your face in months. But you can't give up now. Your team needs you. So before you disappear into the man cave for another weekend of football insanity, remind your special someone they're still your MVP with a bouquet from 1-800-Flowers.com.
Right now, when you order 36 autumn roses, you're going to get them for only $36. 1-800-Flowers 36 for 36 deal. Every rose bouquet backed by their 100% smile guarantee. If your loved one has any issues, 1-800-Flowers is going to make it right no matter what. To order 36 autumn roses for $36, go to 1-800-Flowers.com on your desktop or mobile device. Click on the radio icon and enter the code Mike. 1-800-Flowers.com. Do not forget to click the radio icon and enter the code Mike. The offer ends Friday. Back after this, Mike and Mike.
in the backfield. Here comes a four-man rush, and Wilson's going to throw for the end zone. He's got a man, Jimmy Graham. Will he hang on to it? He does! Touchdown! Seahawks! Jimmy Graham jumps up and spikes the ball. Another spectacular sliding, diving, one-armed, it looked like from here. Reception by number 88. This guy is unbelievable.
He sure was last night. Jimmy Graham, an increasingly important part of that Seattle offense, had two beautiful touchdown catches last night. 710 ESPN Seattle, the call as the Seahawks beat the Bills on Monday Night Football. Steph Curry broke the record last night. He made 13 threes. He had previously shared the mark, which had been 12. So 13 threes for Steph, and the Warriors beat the Pelicans. And the new college football playoff rankings will be revealed tonight exclusively at 7 Eastern on ESPN. SportsCenter with Mike and Mike is brought to you by Uber.
Get your side hustle on. Sign up to drive with Uber and earn extra cash whenever you want. It's totally flexible. You're your own boss, and you can cash out up to 5 times a day. No minimum amount required. Sign up today at uber.com/drive now. That's Uber, UBER.com/drive now.
Mike and Mike on this election day. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. Our guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Again, we've had some fun this morning soliciting your favorite athletes that have presidential names, and there are 3 that we particularly like. One of them, Quincy Carter.
Yes.
And a quick note on John Quincy Adams, who was the son of John Adams. John Adams was the second or third president. He was the second. He succeeded Washington. I just saw this in the show Hamilton. And then Quincy came a short time thereafter. I'm reading about this. John Quincy Adams enjoyed skinny dipping in the Potomac in the early morning.
There you go. Have you skinny dipped?
Who among us does not?
Who doesn't like
Have I skinny dipped in my life?
Yes.
I have.
You have?
I have. Have you?
Oh, yeah. Of course.
In fresh water or in a pool?
In fresh water, in a pool, in the ocean.
Well, the ocean is fresh water, Mike. I mean, is it not? Is
no,
that not? I meant open water.
Fresh water.
I didn't mean. I didn't mean that. Okay. You're correct. Okay. I did not mean to distinguish between
any body of water. Yes, I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a terrible story to tell about that, actually. So we have. So it's election day. No one's watching anyway. So
there you go.
Here's the story. So we have a pool at my house, and
I skinny dipped in that pool
every now and again. No, you're not allowed in my pool. You're not allowed in my pool in a suit of armor, and you're not allowed in my pool wearing what is that thing that the babies wear? The swimmy diapers. You're still not allowed. If we got a giant swimmy diaper, you're not allowed in my pool in it. Isn't that what the kids used
whatever.
to wear? Yeah.
I don't know if they call it a swimmy diaper, but okay.
I think it's called a swim diaper.
I get what you're saying.
Anyway, the point of the story is that I like to go out to the pool sometimes, and I'll swim, and I every now and again I have done it in the buff, and you can't see my pool from anywhere outside of my house. Mm-hmm. But at one point, Stace comes out and says, because the kids were really little at this time. I would never have done it once the kids had gotten a little bigger.
I'm with you.
Stace comes out and says, you realize 2 things. 1, there is a window in our living room that looks directly out on this pool. And 2, we have a babysitter sitting in the living room right now.
Well, there you go.
So that was it. So I will never know. She's never said anything about it. She's a dear girl who lives on our street.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, but that was I've never skinny dipped again.
Okay, I can see that.
I was made very nervous by that.
But you've done it in other bodies of water.
No,
was that the only time?
That was the only. I mean,
really?
That was the only place I had ever done it.
Okay.
Yeah, that to me requires a level of privacy that I've never achieved in any public body of water.
Okay.
And where was it that you were swimming in a public body of water that you felt comfortable enough to do it?
Well, if you jump in a lake or something and just take your suit off once you're in and you're skinny dipping, do it.
Where's the suit go? Are you putting it back on before you come out?
Or you throw it on shore or on the boat or whatever.
That's my point. Oh, on the boat. I see. And then you got some people turn around. Okay.
Well,
whatever. We got a little sidetracked here by that.
Yeah, but
didn't mean to do it.
No worries.
Hembo was sending me all of these notes, by the way. This one says, as a young man, Abraham Lincoln was only defeated once out of approximately 300 wrestling matches and is in fact currently enshrined in the Wrestling Hall of Fame with the honor of Outstanding American. Can you name one other person who is currently sitting at this desk who is in the Wrestling Hall of Fame as an outstanding American?
That'd be me.
That would be Golic.
That would be me.
I've said it many times. They were half right on that. Golic is American.
Yeah.
There was little question of that. And then, of course, we've taken your tweets on presidential names. Quincy Carter, Lincoln Kennedy, and HaHa Clinton Dix.
Yeah.
I think are the three that we like the most.
I would agree. I think those are the top three.
Okay, Mike and Mike. What did I have planned here? I knew I actually had something
You
planned.
got nervous.
Oh, here it
Dan
is, the
and I
new
were
poll.
yelling at one another.
New
Go
poll.
ahead.
Yeah, no, you and Danny yelling made me very uptight.
I know.
All right, new poll has been released.
Okay.
This one has nothing to do with Clinton, has nothing to do with Trump. This one has to do with football.
Okay.
The new ESPN.com power rankings have been released. The New England Patriots remain in the number one spot amongst those here at ESPN who choose those things. I'm going to ask you now to guess who are 2 and 3.
Either 2 or 3 is.
God. That's correct. It's disgusting, but it's correct. Well, why would you put it on the screen? Now they've put it on the screen.
Dallas is number 2 and the Raiders are number 3.
Are you kidding?
Good job, TV people.
I was going to say, who do you think is number 2?
Dallas, obviously, because I know that, because I'm smart.
Put it on the screen. That's correct. It is the Dallas.
You.
It is the Dallas Cowboys who are number 2. Let me go through the current power rankings in the National Football League. I'm not one who always makes a very big deal out of these, but it's somewhat interesting. The top 5 rankings are the Patriots are number 1, the Cowboys are 2, the Raiders are 3, the Seahawks are 4, and the Falcons are 5. Is there anything in that with which you would take issue?
No, I'm trying to look. I don't think so. I don't think so at all. No.
Who would be next for you?
I mean, Kansas City would be right there. They're sitting there at 6-2.
They would be next.
They would probably be next for me. After that, I mean, you look at 3 lost teams. You have Minnesota, the Giants, the Denver Broncos.
Falcons
are already in there.
Sorry.
So they're. I would say the Chiefs would be next.
The bottom 5 teams in order at 28 is Tampa, 29 is Chicago, 30 is San Francisco, 31 is Jacksonville, and 32 the Cleveland Browns. I will say this just relative to my expectations, it is a tough, and this has take my fandom completely out of it. If you ask me to pick the most disappointing team in the NFL this season,
I know who you're going to say.
Yeah.
You're going to say Jacksonville?
I am. Yeah. I'm going to say it's either Jacksonville or the Jets.
Yeah.
The Jets, I had them in the playoffs. That was not with my heart. It was with my head. I genuinely believed they were going to play much better than they have. The quarterback has been bad. It hasn't been only him. But Jacksonville?
To me, it would be more the Jets.
What the heck has happened to Jacksonville?
To me, it would be more the Jets because I had them in Fitzgerald's last time around. Jacksonville, I said they're at least a year away still, and now I think they're going to be down a head coach and possibly a quarterback going into next year. That will be one.
I don't disagree on the quarterback, and I'll tell you why. They'll go to the end of the earth to try and make the Bortles thing work.
I agree.
So they'll fire the coach. They'll bring in a new coach whose sole job, the Adam Gase of this year.
Who's the next quarterback?
Josh
whisperer?
McDaniels, maybe from
Right.
New England. Whomever they think is the guy, because you invest a third. This is where teams can now listen. I root for him. Like I hope Blake Bortles. I don't mean this to sound like I don't expect Bortles to have a chance or whatever. But this is what they mean when they say it sets you back forever.
It does,
because you will now move heaven and earth to make Bortles work.
Yeah.
And there is at least a chance that it just isn't meant to be.
Right. And you're just going to keep prolonging it if it doesn't. And they're starting to get some pieces around there, and now you're kind of waiting on the quarterback to make the next step.
In theory, they have a good runner. They have 2 good wide receivers. They have a good tight end. They have a ton of players on defense.
Young defensive
who at
players.
least you know their names. I don't know how good they actually are or not, but you know who they are, and they're terrible. You watch them play every week. It's very frustrating. Anyway, coming up next, did a player publicly rip his own head coach? I think he did. You'll be the judge next after a word from Tommy John. Mike, when things sound too good to be true, they usually are. But when Tommy John says their underwear never rides up, that is an actual fact.
Every pair is made from feather light breathable fabrics that move with you, not against you, providing the perfect balance of support and incredible comfort. Plus, all Tommy John underwear is backed by the best pair you'll ever wear or its free guarantee. Make sure you use that code Mike at TommyJohn.com for 20% off your first order. That's Mike, 20% off, TommyJohn.com. That's TommyJohn.com. Back after this, Mike and Mike.
Dave and Buster's, the best sports bar.
Mike and Mike, our Sports Center is brought to you by Ultimate Software. From pro sports teams to banks to hospitals, all kinds of businesses trust Ultimate Software with their most valuable resource, their people. They offer smart solutions for HR and payroll and talent management that deliver real benefits for your business. Learn more at ultimatesoftware.com/win. Ultimate Software, people first. Nate Moss tweeted at me, and he's right. When I said the most disappointing teams relative to my expectations, how could I leave out Carolina? I mean, I have the Panthers in the Super Bowl. I haven't fully discounted that possibility. They've gotten a break. The conference is coming back to them a little bit. They started out 1-5, which can usually put you pretty much out of everything. And Atlanta may be uncatchable in that division. But, you look at where that wild card is sitting right now. There aren't a lot of teams in the NFC with great records. So you could I could easily see Carolina playing their way right back into the playoffs.
I think I could as well, yeah. And what also interesting about that ranking is you realize that Atlanta beat Oakland in Oakland.
Yes.
And they're ranked behind them.
Yeah.
I know they have one more loss, but you have Kansas City, who's only 2 losses, that isn't in the top 5. I mean,
Well, were this the BCS, they wouldn't be. Were the committee would be yelling at each other like crazy. If Oakland played Atlanta right now in a neutral field, what would the line be? What would you make the line?
Wow. Both high-power offenses, both defenses.
What was the final score of that game?
35-28.
It was week 2,
Ryan,
right? It was the second week of the season?
Ryan threw for 396 yards in that game.
What Carr throw for? Does it say up there? It doesn't matter. I don't mean to make you start looking through all these numbers.
I mean, that's fine. I have it right here. Julio Jones had over 100 yards receiving. Carr was 34, 45, 299, 3 touchdowns. Ryan was 26, 34, 396, 3 touchdowns and an interception.
That'd be a good Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And that would certainly be an interesting Super Bowl to watch. Let me give you a couple of different presidential things.
Okay.
So I mentioned there is a president with whom Golic has one very big thing in common. Mm-hmm. As a young man, Abraham Lincoln was only defeated once out of approximately 300 wrestling matches. He made it to the Wrestling Hall of Fame with the honor of Outstanding American, like Golic. So you have that in common with the president. I have something else in common with the president.
You do?
It's President Lyndon Johnson. Do you want to take a guess what it is I have in common with Lyndon Johnson? I could give you 100 years, and you would not guess what it is I have in common.
Then I'm not going to guess.
With Lyndon Johnson. President Lyndon Johnson was famous amongst White House staffers for having no shame about asking people to follow him into the bathroom to continue conversations as he relieved himself. That's what I do.
That is unreal. Greeny cannot go to the bathroom alone here.
No. Let's make that sound like it's the bathroom part of it. I don't like to be alone ever.
If he's going to the bathroom, someone takes someone with him. Come on.
That's true.
Come on, to talk. And then they don't have to go to the bathroom at all.
No, they don't.
He just needs company.
I just like to chat. I find my own company excruciating. I don't like to be by myself.
And most people don't like to be with you.
Yeah, but the problem is they have no choice.
They don't.
They have to. If I say it's pretty much in the contract,
if
I say walk with me to the men's room,
you're right.
So I can just occupy my mind without going into the deep recesses on my own.
They so don't want to do it, and they have to do it.
Yeah, well, you just described pretty much the job of every person on the Mike and Mike staff and pretty much every one of their daily duties. And then there is one final note here that on presidents I just find fun. Do you know who is the largest note ever printed in U.S. currency history?
The note was $100,000, wasn't it?
$100,000 bill.
Yeah.
Do you know which president was on it?
Oh, God. Woodrow Wilson.
Okay, they've given you.
All right, I saw that.
There's just no way in hell. There's just no way in the world you just came up with Woodrow Wilson.
I did come up with Nixon for the other one.
That's pretty good. All right, fair enough. That is correct. Woodrow Wilson. Could you imagine that walking into a store? Have you got change of $100,000 bill?
And a $100,000 bill.
I need to get on the bus.
Wow.
And I need quarters. Have you got change of $100,000?
That's amazing. $100,000 bill.
$100,000 bill. I don't know if they still print those or not, or how many of them are out there.
I can't imagine how long they were. That was in circulation.
Go show me one of yours. Go ahead, show me a
$100,000 bill.
I'm assuming you have one.
I'm more along the lines I'd have a $2 bill when those were being printed than a $100,000 bill.
All right, let me finish it up with just this. Do you believe that Malcolm Jenkins of the Philadelphia Eagles ripped his own head coach after the Eagles lost to the Giants on Sunday, and there were a couple of instances where they went for it on fourth downs and didn't get it, and a lot of criticism of Doug Peterson for some of his game management, Malcolm Jenkins of the Eagles said, we're not going to win ball games like this being overly aggressive offensively and giving the ball away. We can't be turning the ball over. We have to stay patient on offense, stingy on defense, aggressive on special teams. We have to be precise in everything we do. Mike, did you read that as him ripping his own cover?
Yeah, I mean, he kind of covered every base. That was kind of a common thread of what you would say about, we don't want to turn the ball over, we want to be aggressive on defense, good on special teams. I mean, that's kind of the mantra everywhere. But when it's coming off your coach going for, 4 fourth downs, they were 1 of 4 on fourth downs. And if you don't make that down, you turn the ball over on down. So, I think there was a little bit of a shot in there, without a doubt. I don't mind him being aggressive. I certainly didn't dig some of the play calls. And you know me. I mean, we've had Le'Veon Bell talk about practices. Their practices in Pittsburgh were about the mistakes and penalties. He said we're making those in practice all the time as well. I just don't think things need to be publicly said like that to make anybody want to go to another player and ask a question. I just don't think you need to do that. What good does it do for you to do that? What purpose is it serving for you to say that? If you think it's going to come across as the least bit of a rip on a teammate or a coach, why would you say it? What would be the thought of you bringing it up? It does you absolutely positively no good. That's always been my thought process, and it will never, ever, ever change.
So there is where we will leave you on this day. Tonight, from a sports standpoint, we get the college football playoff rankings. It'll be interesting to see what happens in that number 4 slot. We got basketball, we got hockey, and other things as well. Obviously, today, however, is not a day where most people's minds will be on sports. So by all means, we certainly encourage you to vote, exercise this right and this privilege that we have in this country. As I've said, as long as 4 years ago, I don't think 8 years ago, because Stevie would have been too little then, but I like to go late in the afternoon because I like my kids to come. I like them to see it and to be whatever part of it they're allowed to be.
I never took my kids, but that's cool, and I will be driving around the polling places to make sure I find a spot that is selling goods.
Yeah. Golick will go as early as he can, lest they run out of donuts.
Exactly right. Capitalism, kids. Get some cupcakes, get some cookies, get outside those polling places and sell.
We shall be back and better than ever first thing tomorrow. See you then. Have a great day. Mike and Mike.
Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans proudly supports Mike and Mike. Rocket Mortgage brings the mortgage process into the 21st century. Forget about digging through stacks of paperwork. This completely online process lets you safely share your bank statements and pay stubs with a touch of a button. Using your phone or tablet, you can get approved for purchase or refinance in just a few minutes. Get a custom mortgage solution at your own pace, whenever and wherever you want. So if you're looking to refinance or buy a home, check out Rocket Mortgage today at quickenloans.com/Mikes.
Equal housing lender licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Hey, college football fans. I'm Ivan Maisel. On the latest Championship Drive podcast, Alabama up, Ohio State up, Texas A&M down, and Baylor down for a while.
The North Carolina Tar Heels head to Durham to face their fiercest rivals, the Duke Blue Devils. Touchdown! Coverage begins Thursday at 6:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio. Presented by Dr. Pepper.